In the media and on the internet, there is a muddy wave of conversations about surrogacy, in vitro fertilization, and so-called same-sex marriages. Today, I read that a PE teacher was fired from an American school because he had a traditional family, and the head of their school is a representative of so-called sexual minorities. So what is your opinion about all of the above? This is a very good question, not just about these particular facts, but in essence. Here is a question. Is it possible that a moral and decent person who is in power and who has money would fill the media with filth which is present on the television, on the radio, in the newspapers? So there is debauchery on the one hand and violence on the other hand. Just take a look what we can find in the bookstores, in children's books. There are plenty of vampires, many sexual toys like Barbies and so on, and this is offered to small children. This is a doll with a husband. So where is it coming from? What is it? And this is in masses. It's not just one single channel or just one single movie. No, there is a flow of it. Where is it coming from? What is the source? It is essential to realize what the source is. So I'm not looking for a person, but recently one American woman called me and she said that she was absolutely sure that this was the work of Soros and his people, and she told me about him, and she is very well acquainted with his biography and activity. So we must realize that, unfortunately, it is very sad, and it's not just a page of history, it is a period of history, and we are facing Satanism. This propaganda is taking place all over the civilized world. It is everywhere. Do you think it is just in Russia? It has only come to Russia after perestroika, and all this dirt flew to our poor country. There is no ideological wall anymore, and this Satanism has arrived. I'm just talking about morals. There is no other explanation. It's not about making money. People want to see something pure, beautiful, something benevolent, something patriotic. They want to see the real love or the romantic love and not some dirt. People would be enjoying it, and this would educate our next generation. No, no. If there is a great movie, it will never arrive anywhere. It will never get any award. So it is an obvious fact that in the mass media the power belongs to Satanists. I mean the cult Satanists. It is not a metaphor, and I don't mean the teenagers, but I mean the real cult Satanists who hate good and who hate the humanity. And you know that this dirt is killing human souls, so they are people haters. That's the source.
Другом, можно чуть-чуть побогословствовать.
Do you want to fight against God? One of the ways to express your hatred to God is to fight His creation. You can't fight God, but here we can see His creation. People who are only called God's image. So this is the realization of the divine energy. So when we speak of Satanism, it is clear they have to fight everything natural, and first of all, they have to fight against the human nature. Do you remember the famous Malevич's square, the black square? Do you know what it is? It is not just a black square in a white frame. You must know what he wrote. He wrote that the best work of art is the one that has no analog in the world. What did I just tell you? The world is the realization of divine energy. What does Malevich say? That the best work of art has nothing to do with God. So Benoit wrote that the black square is not just some simple thing. This is an outright rebellion against God. So it is indeed. You can never find anything like the black square in nature. So, and what about these poor homosexuals? I can still say so here, but soon I will be unable to say so because I will have to go to prison. So this is the fight against nature. Can you see that? And these same-sex relationships or debauch, which I cannot call with the biblical word marriage, because marriage is something good. What is it? This is the fight against nature, which is the realization of divine energy. So once I was talking to a Protestant, and he was accusing me of worshipping icons, and I know the Germans, so I could say so, and I told him, could you please show me a picture of your family? And he happily showed me a picture with his wife and children in it, and he was so happy. And then I said, now just throw it on the floor and step on it. And he said, how can I do that? And I said, well, this is just a piece of paper. Are you worshipping this piece of paper? Are you keep it in your pocket? You're an idolater. We worship the saints. And is your wife a saint? So, why can't you step on the picture? And you can imagine his reaction. I think he will never fight any icon worshipping anymore. So, answering your question, I have to say that now we are facing the following. There were some periods of fighting God in history, but they were local. But now this is the global God fighting. This is being forced on people. This is being implemented with violence. What is happening in the United States with the homosexuals? Here is one of the recent cases. Two homosexuals came to a cake maker and asked for a cake, for a wedding cake for them. And he's a Christian. He said, no, never. And they went to court. And the decision was for him either to go to prison or to pay a huge fine or to make the cake. And he responded that I'd rather go to prison than make this cake. So he turned out to be a courageous man. So, can you see what's happening? So, the worst of it is, let alone the Satanists, but what about the Christians? I remember the dialogue with the German Lutherans. One of them stood up and said that their church already has same-sex marriages and the ceremony, and asked why, and he gave no proper response. They declare that when there is love, that is Christianity. The Anglican bishops declared that the same-sex relationship do not contradict Christianity when there is love. So, they call themselves Christians. When I say that at the end of times many Christians will accept Antichrist, I say, don't you consider Anglicans and their bishops Christians? Well, they will take offense. And the worst case is when we can hear that some Orthodox Christians or even priests justify these disgusting things. This is Satanism. Both in the Old Testament and in the New Testament, all of these intercourses and same-sex relationships are condemned, and when Christians are justifying such things, what is it? So now we have to deal with a very difficult period in the history of the mankind when the Satanism has grasped power and when it has become global, and it is acting with violence because it is Satanism. They are fighting God, and we can still talk about it, but not for long.